Hello, I'm Christian Vogler. I work at Gallaudet University, which is the only liberal arts institution for deaf and hard of hearing students in the world. We're located right in Washington, D.C., not far from the U.S. Capitol. I'm the director of the Technology Access Program at Gallaudet University, and we do research into accessible communication technologies for the deaf, hard of hearing, no matter whether they sign or prefer to listen and lip read. Our work has a high impact on both public policy and on products that companies build. For example, did you know that some of our work can be found in iPhones and Android phones? Today, I'll discuss making video conferences more accessible for deaf and hard of hearing people. There are generally 35 to 48 million of us in the US. 1 out of every 6 people have a hearing loss. We've been thinking about this topic since 2009, accessibility for video conferencing. But since the COVID pandemic, it has really spotlighted the importance of this topic. The first thing I want to impress upon you is that video conferencing accessibility is 20% technology and 80% behavior. In the 20%, we've done comparisons of the different video conferencing platforms, and they vary a lot in how accessible they are. Some offer better video quality than others. Some offer better management for sign language interpreters on the screen. Some have other options for how the video conferencing allows you to share video and screens simultaneously. Some offer built-in automated captions, which are a great option for impromptu, last-minute small group meetings where you don't have the ability to hire a captionist. But be aware that large formal meetings, you should hire a human captionist. You can find more information on what features matter linked on this page. There's a matrix of information for different video conferencing platforms. So as I said, 20% is technology, but 80% is human behavior. It's very important that every one of you individually and the employees in your organizations, as well as your leaders, make changes to make difference in accessibility for video conferencing for deaf and hard of hearing people. Generally, these behaviors attempt to minimize cognitive overload for deaf and hard of hearing participants who are trying to watch a video conference and follow the conversation. It's quite often harder to follow a meeting for them. At the same time, these behaviors that will help reduce that cognitive load for the deaf and hard of hearing participants also make the video conference experience better for everyone and help reduce that dreaded Zoom fatigue. Let me talk about some specific behaviors. First, and most importantly, minimize visual distractions. You may notice that I have a plain blue background behind me. While it might not be the most attractive, it makes it easier for people to look at me and see what I'm saying. And if the background isn't as well managed, this is what it might look like. Now it's nice to have my library. It looks nice enough behind me, but now my video is struggling to manage both my background and the language I'm producing. Think about the distractions when you're trying to lip read, for example. If you use virtual backgrounds, it can be even worse. Let me show you what will happen. I'll sign something, and you all should pay a little bit of attention to what happens to my fingers when they're moving. Hello, my name is Christian Vogler. It's likely the interpreter couldn't actually understand me. So as you saw, that virtual background can be very distracting. And many deaf and hard of hearing participants, when looking at a speaker with a virtual background, will often ask them to turn it off. You don't need a fancy background as long as it's neutral, a neutral white or gray wall, that will work as well. Visual attention is also very important for deaf and hard of hearing individuals. Eye contact. Make sure that you're looking at the camera. If it looks like you're looking down, then the person is automatically going to stop talking to you because it feels unnatural. It's important that you mount your camera where you're looking. Lighting is also very important. We recommend indirect lighting, not direct lighting on your face, because it makes the face more even, the lips and eyes more visible, and I can show you what it looks like if I don't have indirect lighting. You see dark shadows on half of my face, makes it very difficult to see me clearly. Fourth, it's important to ensure that your audio is clear, both for hard of hearing people who are listening and lip reading, but also for your sign language interpreters. If the audio is clear, then the person is able to listen and it requires less work. So we require two strong suggestions. Use a headset such as this one that has an attached microphone, or have a small lapel microphone. These can be found very inexpensively, and it's a much better investment than depending on the built-in webcam microphone. Also, if you're using automated speech recognition to create transcripts, it will be much more clear and have fewer errors if you're using an external microphone. Fifth, and probably most important, is to set communication rules. You don't want, for example, to have audio, people speaking over one another. So often you ask people to mute their microphone and then turn their mic on to take their turn and then mute themselves again. The same thing holds true for video use. It helps a great deal if everyone turns off their video except for the individual who's speaking. That helps for two things. One, it helps the video itself to be more clear because it can be much bigger. You don't have a bunch of small videos that the computer's trying to handle. It's easier to read lips. It's easier to figure out who's speaking because you're able to see whose video's turned on. All of these tips will help make video conferencing more accessible to benefit deaf and hard of hearing people for sure, but really to the benefit of everyone. So to summarize, there are many people with hearing loss, and you might be surprised how many people in your colleagues have hearing loss. Making video conferencing more accessible for deaf and hard of hearing people helps everyone reduce Zoom fatigue. Video conferencing accessibility is 20% picking the right technology and 80% behavior. Behavior change is a critical piece. And those key behaviors include minimizing visual distractions, optimizing lighting and audio, and have procedures for when to show video and turn video off. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.